Hey everyone, welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here for this daily medicine transmission. It is for January 18th, 2021. Welcome. Good morning to everyone. Morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Thanks for joining me here for this transmission today. It is Monday, week to remember. It is also Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Usually this is a day of service, and this is my service, and it has been for the last year and a half. It's pretty much my whole life, but in terms of Catalyst Energies and what I've been offering in this particular channel and these modalities here of reading the astrological weather forecast and also these intuitive readings, this is my service. So it's a good idea to kind of focus on MLK Jr.'s message today. I think it will really help ground us and to, give us some perspective on what we're on this planet to do today and for each other. It's in the astrology report I had actually talked about. You can actually go check out. It's now up on YouTube. And I am recording. I actually remembered to hit record on this stream today. So I'll be uploading to BitChute as well if you're interested in supporting alternative platforms. And I am looking into Rumble and Odyssey as well. It's too bad that they don't have streaming functions yet. But once that does happen, I may be moving off of this platform entirely. We'll see what happens. The most important thing for me is to remain accessible for these messages, because I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. I am not here to give you any intel. I am here to forecast the astrological and energetic weather and allow all of us to make our own choices and decisions with that information, rather than giving anybody a sense of, I know exactly what's happening and this is what you should do about it. That's not what this is about. I have no link to drop anywhere because I am not able to post on any of my social media at this point. So I may move over to Telegram, but we'll see what happens with that too. It's a very strange world and full of surprises. Uranus is on the main stage for so much right now, and it is, in my estimation, and any astrologer who's worth their salt, it is foolish to think that you know what to expect with Uranus, because that's kind of the whole point of Uranus, is that the radical shift that Uranus represents is the trigger for the psychological crisis that allows transformation to happen. So we have no idea what's happening, and to think that we do outside of our own zone here, I think, again, is foolish and setting ourselves up. But what we do have control over is ourselves and our perspective and how we choose to interact with reality. So let's check in with the chat here and the stream on YouTube's and see what's going on. All right. So let's talk about the astrology. Did I make sure I got everything that I wanted to talk about in terms of housekeeping and logistics and things like that? Yeah, I think so. Okay, so yeah, let's talk about the astrology today. The moon is in Aries, and I can't say for sure. Well, I can't speak for anybody other than myself, but what I will tell you is that when the moon came into Aries last night, I sat straight up out of bed, just up and awake, right? At like about 1:45, 2 a.m., I was up. And so there is that warrior energy of Aries has turned on, and I was ready to go. I don't know where I was going. I went back to sleep, and it's been pretty active in the dream realm the last couple days. But so that warrior energy, that really strong potency, that desire that Aries represents is really strong internally today and in our feelings, in our emotional state. So be mindful of that. You can see right in this reading here, as we're going to go into it in a little bit, you can see right here how the Look at all this fire right in here. You got the Princess of Wands at the center of the reading. And you have 9 and 10 of Swords, which they are the mental aspect. But you'll see Mars in Gemini, the Sun in Gemini. These are not well-received cards. And so, again, there are harsh realizations coming. There is a sense of rebirth and transformation that comes along with it. And it's going to... I think we're going to move from a place where we feel like we have no control over these things, or perhaps just continue to cycle around into this mental, just this mental trap. And the more innocent that we can be, the more we can connect to our inner child, what actually gives us joy in life, this Princess of Wands, this joy of life and this passion. You can see the 3 of Roses here in the root of this reading being reversed, really nurturing that child within. If we can do that, it's still going to be having to face up to some harsh realities in terms of where we are headed with the energies, but at least we are accepting it and we can start this cycle over. So when it comes to the astrology, we have the moon, like I said, in Aries today. There's not a lot of major aspects right this moment. There seems to be a little, I wouldn't even call it a lull, believe me. I think that is the wrong word for it. But there's not this major, like yesterday we had Jupiter squaring Uranus. Tomorrow we're going to have the sun move into Aquarius as well. And then on the 20th is going to be outrageous. I mean, the astrology for the 20th is outrageous. I can't express it enough how outrageous it is. So I encourage you to look at the full moon report, because I go over the 20th leading up into the full moon, because it's not just the 20th. That is just the beginning of this outrageous energy. The full moon is really going to be, as most full moons are, a culmination point. But it also will be a culmination in terms of our own inner sovereignty and a sense of renewal and a sense of reality, right? Of seeing each other as human beings and meeting each other at that level. That full moon is going to really highlight that and will require that we stay in our sovereignty and in our own passion and joy. That seems to be really the theme of today with the moon in Aries, because that is the subjective experience, Aries, that cardinal fire, that the initiation and the drive to be something ourselves is right here. So there is an innocence to a certain extent and a lot of passion and enthusiasm that comes about with it. So the moon is going to sextile Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius, right? These masculine energies, fire and air. And it's this potency and desire within the individual emotional experience is going to support and reinforce where Saturn and Jupiter are in terms of the future, into the next phase, into the Aquarian age of our evolution as a species, as humanity on this planet. So we can start feeling within us that seed point that Aries represents, all the potential encapsulated into the subjective consciousness, into the ego consciousness. It's going to start developing. It's also the moon's going to be in a conjunction with Chiron today. So we're going to come back around and revisit again this identity that we are acting out of in terms of our victimhood, our wounding of self. And, it took a lot of courage, I think. I mean, I guess when you're at the precipice of your own disaster, which Chiron was, he couldn't heal from his wounds. He was in so much pain that he couldn't really see another way out other than to let go of the identity that had gotten him to that point, which was to give up his immortality. And when he did that, he was able to not necessarily heal, but he could step away from his pain, right? He couldn't heal from the wound that he got because he couldn't die, because he was immortal. And so it did take a certain amount of courage, but really it took an awareness and realizing there was no other way to go other than you're going to continue to suffer. So again, we're going to come back around, and there's such a strong urge and a very one-sided urge with where Chiron is today to assert our, our individuation when it comes to who we are and the identity that we are aligning ourselves with. Are we a victim? Are we the wounded healer? Are we the savior? Or are we actually looking at these different identities and determining whether or not we are fulfilling them or not? So we'll get this opportunity today. And so I think being passionate and enthusiastic, but also keeping in mind that we have to emotionally connect to that inner child, to nurture that part of ourselves. That's really going to help move through this process, because there's a lot of painful realizations that are coming, right? No matter how you look at it, no matter what perspective you're coming from, it's an inevitability, because this is how we grow. This is how the cycle comes back around. We have to be mindful of that. So let's see here. Okay. So yeah, the moon is in Aries, and we can feel it growing within us, okay? And there is a lot of warrior energy. That's the other thing about Aries, because Mars is the ruler of Aries, and Mars is in Taurus, right? Mars is really kind of situating itself now into the natural cycle of things, showing us that there is a way to bridge the gap between us, and that it actually takes some work and some focus on doing it, but there is a way. So that's the other thing, is that Mars is at a I want to say it's at the detriment necessarily, because it's not in the sign opposite of its home. It's much more of just that passion and enthusiasm needs to be directed into a medium that it can actually grow. That's the thing. The viability of the seed is great, but if there's no medium for its growth, then it's kind of wasted. And so Mars is in a position now where the viability and the courage and the enthusiasm that the divine masculine holds has a medium in which to grow. And so allowing ourselves to kind of settle into that space, that part of us, that warrior part of us. And remember, Mars went into Taurus on the 6th. Okay, that third quarter square of the last lunar cycle that started with a new moon solar eclipse, okay? And it was a total solar eclipse, no less. And so that reverberates for months and months, but even longer. A total solar eclipse is going to last, just like the one in 2017 through the United States. That is still rippling out right now. It's been years, okay? So the same thing, you can certainly expect the same thing with a total solar eclipse at such an important time in history to really unravel over a long period of time. And so on the 6th, this is when Mars came into Taurus, okay? So I know I'm kind of getting long-winded about the astrology, and you're like, just get into the transmission already. Tell me what I need to know. But that's the thing, we have to be able to look back and also look forward at the same time. We have to, if we want to ascend out of 3 and 4D, we actually have to bring our perspective out of 3 and 4D and look at things simultaneously, past, present, and future, and be able to see the pattern as a whole pattern, right? Not just be totally exclusively focused on the part of it that we're in and what direction we're headed. We need to see the whole picture, because that's how unity consciousness is actually developed, when we have a perspective that is much more organic and holistic, and you see all aspects, okay, rather than just being in the stream of time and space and being locked into a purely physical dimension. That's, moving out of Capricorn into Aquarius, especially when Venus does it. That's going to be a lot more it'll make it a lot more palpable and real at that point. So Venus is still in Capricorn, but interestingly enough is in a degree today that is about meditating on fire, meditating on something outside of life and death. Like when you meditate on fire, you are meditating on and focusing on something outside of that duality, because that's what fire represents. It's about the destruction and the transformation in one element. So again, we can bring our awareness back to this point in order to understand what is happening right now, at least in our own lives. Again, never underestimate never underestimate Uranus. I can't even get the words out of my face, because if you do that, I mean, either way, it's going to be a drastic shift, but at least if you're prepared for that, you'll be able to ride that wave a lot more successfully than if you are thinking that you know exactly what's going to happen. So let's just get into the transmission, okay? I'm going to Moon in Aries today, right? We're going to be feeling it. We're going to be feeling that potency, that desire to individuate ourselves. That warrior energy is going to turn on. We're going to want to express that part of ourselves emotionally. And there's nothing wrong with that. As you're going to see in this transmission, that's kind of what is at the heart of this right now. And even with our own thought processes, it's really going to be very fiery and passionate and activated. But there is, as with all cycles, coming back around, and there's something to be gained from that as not just being activated as a warrior, but there is realization coming and painful realization coming. Okay, so as we come into the moment, here we go, is the Nine of Swords. This is the cruelty card. Mars and Gemini, so it is reversed. So we're coming from a position of, regardless if it's upright or not, it is about the, cruelty. It is the overanalyzation that leads to nowhere, right? You can't stop thinking. You can't stop analyzing. It's keeping you up at night, right? You can even, in the Rider-Waite deck, that's a big part of it. That the imagery is like the being kept up at night, waking up from the nightmares, pain, despair, and not able. But when it's reversed, there's a resistance to this. We're not learning from it. It's just constantly going in this cruel cycle and not able to realize the truth or face up to the facts. Now, this is the energy coming into the moment. We've really been I think collectively just kind of spinning around this and feeling a lot of the cruelty, feeling a lot of the pain, feeling a lot of the despair, and it's bouncing off everywhere. Everybody's perspective is just as valid as the next person, because that is you can only be where you are. And I think a lot of people are really struggling mentally and intellectually, and in terms of communication as well, and where we get our communication and what's going on there. There is just a lot of this flying around, and there's people are really struggling to be able to get themselves grounded, and it's just spinning out, and people, there's a lot of despair. I guess that's really the big word, a lot of despair and a lot of analyzing and overthinking, just keep going around and around. So at the heart of the moment, though, here is this beautiful Princess of Wands. And if you can see here, she is carefree, right? She is riding this flame upwards. She's got this tiger. It looks like a tiger that is like completely connected to her. She's got these antennae that are coming out as well, which I always think are really fascinating. Not sure even what they are, but they are also, at the top of her and moving forward. So she's also able to really sense, Venus is very sensitive. The princess is the Venus in the elements. So the Venus in fire, which we just talked about, Venus in Capricorn, is meditating on the fire today and what that means. So this is about passion and joy of life. Look how joyful she is. She is playful, enthusiastic, courageous. She's very beautiful and seductive, right? She can just as easily burn down the object of her passion and move on. That is kind of the dark side of the princess. But in the heart of the moment today, with the moon, the feminine priestess aspect of us in Aries, there is a lot of enthusiasm and passion and joy, despite that coming into the moment of all this overthinking and analytical aspect, and a lot of despair coming into the moment. But now here we are with this courage and this enthusiasm and this passion and this joy for life. And with the court cards, this is us. This is actual people. We need to, at the heart of us is this princess energy, this Venus in the fire. She is enjoying her life, and she is passionate and enthusiastic for what's coming, and she has no care here, right? She is just playful and riding this wave, okay? This is something to embody today. Now, at the top of our awareness, we do have the scribe. So number 1, this is the end of a cycle. This is the number 12. And the scribe, historically has been the most educated person because they write it all down. They record everything: architecture, law, medicine, historical events, everything in a society. The scribe is writing it all down. And so there, again, North Node in Gemini is really pulling us to this place. And this is very much fitting in with where the 9 of Swords and the 10 of Swords, because this is as much as this is the end of a cycle and a culmination of experiences and information, we are focusing here on mind and study. This is a great upsweep in mind and study. This is suggesting to me that, at the top of our awareness and where our conscious awareness is again, taking in this information. And with the North Node in Gemini, this is not letting up anytime soon, okay? And there's teachers coming in, there's information coming in, and it's really important to make sure that we're checking out the right sources, the right teachers, okay? There's a culmination of energy and information that is represented in this card, because it's not about analyzing it necessarily. It's just about recording it. It's just about taking it in. And so I think that there is a lot of focus still on taking in all this information. And what this is saying is that we have to be mindful about where it's coming from, and we have to vet it to a certain extent. I mean, these guys are just taking it in. They're just writing it all down and recording it. They're not really in a position right this moment to analyze it or figure out if it's legitimate or not. They are just writing it all down. And so with the North Node in Gemini, still, we're just taking it all in. And when we take it all in, that's when, the end of a cycle, the Pisces, the 12th house, we take it all in. And this is what is, like I said, encapsulated into the seed point for the next cycle. And as you'll see, there's some guidance here to deal with this, because if we don't root this in something substantial, this is how, we spin out and have this over analyzing and just constantly, taking in information that other people are putting out there. And not saying that we should or shouldn't do that. I mean, personally, I take in as much as I can and use that as a way to practice my discernment. That's a really good way to look at this, because they take it all in, because they're recording everything, and they're ending of a cycle. There's a lot of ending of a cycle energy in this reading today, that they, as a result of taking it all in, then you can start to look at all of the pieces and come to conclusions, analyze and come to conclusions based on all of the pieces coming in. So again, at the top of our awareness here, what we are consciously aware of and what's coming in is just this, just keep taking in the information and using your discernment, okay? Now, what we're not seeing, but what's at the root of things here, which is, this is what will lead to a certain extent where the ruin is, because for as much as we are passionate and joyful with the Princess of Wands, right, the fire and the enthusiasm and the courage, for as much as that's there, with the Three of Roses, this is the loving elementals. If you take a look here, this little child is on the bank of a stream, and there's fairies and other elemental beings, magical beings surrounding the child, and there's smiles and giggles and, some innocence here. So the loving elementals. So when it's reversed like this, there's a real split from that inner child. And so it's important that in the natural world, that's the other thing. The elementals are part of our natural world. And so it's at the root of things here, energetically, there is a split with our inner child. There's a lot of focus on the information. It's very serious, taking a serious responsibility in taking in all the information and that role and how important it is and how much it's necessary. But at the root of things here, there is a split, and we don't want to take things too seriously, because if we do, either way, the ruin is coming. And I think that at least we'll have something to learn from this situation. But part of it is that we are not really connected to this inner child and to the natural world. And it's important that we do find joyful purpose in this whole process, because if we don't, then the ruin, the 10 of Swords, we're not really going to learn anything from it. We're just going to feel the negative impact of these painful realizations. We have to find some joy and purpose in our lives and nourish that inner child, because here it is, there's the ruin, the 10 of Swords. Now, transformation, rebirth, renewal, these are all the positive aspects. The sun in Gemini, right? The sun is all about that hope and optimism and passion as well. It's the end of a cycle. And there's wisdom here to be gained through the pain and loss. But I assure you that this is about painful realizations and the ending of a cycle of information and an ending of a mental cycle that we will have to start back over again. It is coming. The thing is that it won't be as cruel as what we are seeing here when we are at least aligned with a joyful purpose in life and connected to our inner child and connected to the natural world. This is what's going to mitigate this process, okay? Now, when it comes to that scribe, now, it does say, remain vigilant about the current situation. Pay attention to signs and omens and let them dictate your choices. Now, that's different. Signs and omens, that's different than somebody else's intel. Somebody else's, don't even take this for anything. This is just archetypal symbols that are here to bring out what is embedded in all of us, because we all have access to the truth of who we are and who we collectively are and what our role is here. So, but this is say, remain vigilant. Again, the scribe is taking in all of the information, okay? They're not making an analysis. They're not coming to conclusions. They are just taking in all of the information, all right? Remain vigilant about the situation. Pay attention to signs and omens. Pay attention to your higher self. Pay attention to your own intuition. Be vigilant, which means use discernment, okay, with all of the information that we're taking in, because we're taking in a lot of information. And of course, we have to take in everything that is presented to us in order to learn discernment, okay? But we have to be vigilant. We can't just be like, oh, that sounds great to me. I like what they're telling me, so I'm going to believe that it's true. That's not what being vigilant is. Use your intuition. And we all have our own intuitive language. You have to learn what it is over time. You have to create a relationship with your guidance system so that you know what it sounds like and what it feels like in your body. So you have to be vigilant and put everything through your own filter of your own higher self and your guidance so that you know that you can vet these sources, okay? And the other thing with the guidance is the 8 of Roses. This is the community. Know who your tribe is, your soul tribe, your sangha, your spiritual community, and this is where the real this is where we can find support, okay? Not necessarily in the information, not in all of the intel that's out there, and people telling us what is or isn't going to happen, okay? Be very mindful of that. It's about the community, the places where you feel safe, where you feel like you can be yourself, where people accept you for who you are, and that discourse is open because it's much more about the relationships that you have as opposed to what you know or don't know, and the support there. I think that being aware of who you trust and who you're loyal to and who's loyal to you and where you feel safe is really important. That way that you can be vigilant, right, about the current situation, and you're using your intuition and your discernment, and you are in a situation with people you trust, okay? You trust the people in your community. You trust the people in the Sangha, because everybody has the same basic goal, which is the cohesion of the spiritual community, whatever that means to you. It doesn't have to be religious. It just means that it's a community that's based on a shared experience and a relationship with each other. Now, with the loving elementals, the Six of Forces, this is the waterfall. This is a lot of power, right? Emotional power, feeling power. So when it's reversed like this is signifying that there is a significant loss of power that is here or coming. And considering that it's at the root of things here, I would say that it's something we don't quite see yet. And like I said, the astrology for the 20th is outrageous, absolutely outrageous. So I can see that a significant loss of power may feel like it's coming, especially with Uranus involved. It can be very emotionally reactive time because you feel out of power, and your life can literally feel turned upside down. Again, Uranus feeling turned upside down. Uranus is flipped onto its side, and so its north and south poles, it rotates this way on its axis, not like this, okay? Literally flipped on its side. This is, again, where the trigger of transformation comes from in the chart. So it's important to rise up and take your own power back and not rely on outside sources. And again, connecting to our inner child, finding a sense of joy and purpose, being connected to the natural world. These are all ways that we can take our power back, be connected to the natural law, cosmic coherence. It's a very Aquarian aspect. But keep in mind that at the root of things here, to be mindful that this is going to present itself, and it's a really important time to get connected back to that joy and optimism and that inner child and not take things too seriously. Because if you do, this could drown you, okay? I mean, you could be crushed under that as well. And then along with that is our friend, the spider, keeps coming back around. Trust the creative spark you're feeling and express it through writing stories that inspire and enlighten. And in this case, I think we need to inspire and enlighten ourselves. Be able to create our own narrative, be able to create our own source of sustenance and nourishment, and be able to see things, as I just talked about, past, present, and future as one whole geometric pattern unfolding. You zoom back and you see the whole pattern rather than focusing in so directly on this one singular point. You want to be able to zoom back and see the whole web and how it was built and where it's going and the whole pattern, okay? And again, it's about creating our own narrative, creating our own space, creating our own source of nourishment and sustenance and protection. And that means trusting the natural world. So, I hope everybody's doing okay. I'm going to check in with the chat real quick. Yeah, that's okay that you made it. I mean, I'm just happy that anybody shows up at this point. So, I hope everyone is doing well and taking care. Please take care of yourselves today. And don't be afraid to allow this passion and this enthusiasm to move through you. There's nothing wrong with that. A moon in Aries is an incredible time to let this move through the waters of your emotional landscape and to feel a sense of passion and to feel a sense of potency and potential. That is certainly what Aries represents. Again, the seed is all of the potential in one little point, right? The subjective experience, the ego consciousness is the seed point of our potential. It is the ascendant in the chart, the first house, the subjective experience, who we are. So no, you don't be afraid to allow that to move through you. And it's okay to feel joy and enthusiasm for life, and to have a sense of trust and innocence to a certain extent, and to look forward to what's happening. I think this is the only way, to be perfectly honest, that we are going to be able to navigate these painful realizations and allow that to be a transformative process. Because if we allow ourselves to feel completely disempowered, like this Six of Forces reversed here, and we don't reconnect to a certain extent with this inner child and trust nature and be connected to the elements, then we risk staying in this cruel aspect, and the ruin is what we'll be focused on, and it's inevitable. We have to go through this process. Again, that is the whole point of the transformation process that Pluto represents. We have to go through the destruction and the chaos and emptiness in order to get to the transformation. And I think a moon in Aries is a really great time. And again, that warrior energy is going to come out. It's going to come out. And so it's important to, if we stay connected to our innocence and our inner child, if we stay connected to our spiritual community and the people we trust, then we can channel that energy appropriately and to really fulfill that enthusiasm and passion, as opposed to letting it be, acting out of our wounding, because that could very well happen with a conjunction with Chiron today. So again, it's all up to us. This is just a forecast of the astro weather and the energetic read. This is not saying this will happen, this will not happen. It's all about how we participate with this pattern unfolding. That's what it's all about. And so, be mindful of all of this as you go through your day. So you guys, that's the transmission today. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate every single one of you. If you are interested in booking a reading, you can go to the website and click the services tab and check out what is available. And please consider subscribing, liking the video. It helps get this information out to other people. If you want to support alternative platforms, this will be up on BitChute today as well, and you can start subscribing there as well. And hopefully I can be back on Facebook soon, probably within the week. So, but I can't really post there right now. So I may go on Telegram. We'll see what happens with that. It might be better to just kind of narrow in the focus to the video platforms with the content for now. And yeah, everything you need is in the description box below. Please reach out if you need support, of course. And check out the astrology video for the full moon. That is also now up on YouTube. There's a lot there. There is so much happening from the 20th up till the full moon. That is really a reality check, and it's beautiful. I think it's a really beautiful time. This reading is very beautiful. It gives us some good focus points in terms of our passion and joy and being innocent and cultivating that inner child and finding some joy in life, because that's really all this is about. We are on loan. This life is on loan to us on this planet, in this dimension, so we need to make the most of it and realize that yes, there will be painful realizations that come around, but it's all part of a renewal and a rebirth process. That is why we're here. So I love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye.